Welcome to the Planning Development and Licensing Committee. First point would be as public speakers. So take away. Yeah. Would you like to?
Should just go ahead. Hello, my name's Derek Moore. I'm here on the interest of Eastwick Road through the chicanes, and I've put in a petition for 5,000 people signatures, and this was to ask for the reduction of the speed from 30 mile an hour to 20 mile an hour. Also, 2 zebra crossings, one by St. Teresa's Church and one at the lower end of Eastwick Road on the corner by a chicane, because we have a lot of people from the public using these crossings at the present time for children going to school, disabled people, elderly people, church people, and people going to and fro to the parks. Now, we've had a number of accidents outside my house, which is 201 Eastwick Road. There was only one out there on the 27th of last month, an accident, someone hitting the chicanes and careering across the road and up and into the hedge. And we've also asked for some railings to be put, or some device of barrier to be placed in front of 201 Eastwick Road to stop the traffic from going up over the my hard standing across onto the footpath and down over the other hard standing further down the road, which articulated lorries, buses, cars uses that form of passing one another rather than staying on the highway and passing as they should do. And also with the verges up through regarding the hedges, that I know you've been up through and they've cut the hedges across the top and the side, but it took nearly 2 years to ask for these hedges or bushes then to be cut back where the public's walking. Come the end, my son had to go and cut an area of the shrubs himself, which he had permission from the county council to do, and also the grass outside our house because it was getting so long. And he had permission to do both. But all we're getting is, why should we pay council tax and other benefit or other fees towards the upkeep of the estate rather than you yourself doing it? Why shouldn't the council be doing it themselves? But I mean, my aim is for to get this 30 mile an hour down to 20. Now, they've not placed a SID on the lower half of Eastwick Road whatsoever. They've put one up at the junction of Dorchester Road, Eastwick Road, which I know there have been a number of accidents, but there have been a lot more down our end. There was 7 accidents down through there in a matter of just over 12 months, and 4 of the cars have been written right off, and it's only waiting for someone to get killed along there. There's going to be someone knocked down, or there's going to be a car accident or a motorcycle accident there.
Thank you very much.
And thank you.
Thank you. Would you, Marcus, you want to take over a sec?
Yeah, if you're happy to, I've got some knowledge of some of the things that Mr. Moore's raised on that. I guess starting with sort of the 20 miles an hour scheme, you may recall, last March there was a petition presented by Mr. Moore to this full council and Somerset Council's executive regarding the same. And I do believe that there was interest expressed at the time about a trial, looking into trials for 20 miles an hour roads within the area. and in terms of how that's progressed since, we have done some follow-up correspondence and meetings with councillors and the Highway Service at Somerset Council in understanding which of those high priority roads that we think would benefit from the 20 miles an hour. There are various rules and restrictions as to which can be qualified in terms of how fast traffic flows on there for that to be eligible for a 20 miles an hour placement. They have advised as well that it would cost £15,000 per road to institute a 20 mile an hour limit. So that would obviously need to be funded by the town council if that was something the town council wished to do. And in terms of progressing Eastwick Road as a trial period, I haven't had any further impetus or desire from members to progress with that. That's something, if that changes, then that's something we can look at. In terms of the SID placement, there was one at the bottom of Dorchester Road, and then a couple of months ago, I believe it was actually written off for car drove into it. So we had to use our insurance claim to get that replaced because it was written off with the battery. We have, I think initially there was guidance that it didn't meet the chicanes element for placing a SID, but we did get permission from the highways icing team for one of the columns to be used down there. I went down there with a colleague before Christmas and we identified a pole, and that was agreed with the highways service. So there should have been a pole SID put up. We'll check on that because it should be in the rotation. One along the bottom half of the chicanes there on Eastwood Road. But yeah, so that would give us a good evidence base as to the speeds of the traffic that are going at that particular juncture. In terms of the hedges and the railing, say Somerset Council seem to be adamant that they have installed an additional railing post that executive meeting. I would just encourage you to follow that up with them. Really, that's not for this council, but sorry that it hasn't met to your satisfaction, I guess. There is a positive development recently. I know the local ward member, Councillor Pollard, has been campaigning for HGV advisory signage to go up at the entrance points to off the roundabout there as you're coming into the chicanes and at the top of the approach and private shops. Somerset Council have agreed to do that, and it will be done later in the year, I believe from April onwards, when their new budgets kick in. So they have agreed to that, which is positive, and I know that the councillor, the local ward councillor, was campaigning hard for that and was potentially looking at using WMIS funding to deliver that. The hedges, as you say, I think I think it raised that with Somerset Council. I would unfortunately it's not on our set that the town council maintain. We have looked to engage with community payback to try and do some of this additional work around the town to try and tidy and brighten the town up, recognising that times are tight in local government and they're not able to obviously if it is causing obstructions to pavements, highways and things like that, please do keep reporting it on the right tools on their website and raising it with local councillors. That's everything I think. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you very much. Is there any other points?
Just one thing, it's not really for this council, but the gentleman mentioned zebra crossings as well.
Oh yes.
So I presume that again, unfortunately, is, but I think, Councillor Pollard could stay on that and potentially keep campaigning with the other council to try and get a crossing there at some point if it's viable. And I can't say that myself, but but I know, having been there a lot, the chicanes don't really, if there's only one car and they can see a clear straight route all the way through, then they take it at speed, but it's a bigger project, it's a bigger thing. But what my advice to you, sir, is keep going. It does take a hell of a long time to get action, but in the end we find that perseverance will win out in the end, hopefully.
Councillor Stathel.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Chair, I know there's another section this evening is going to be about speeding and issues of
Yeah, yeah.
So these hedges are the shrubs that's growing up. It's not on the private property, it's the actual council property. It's what they placed there when they done the chicanes. And that's what's overgrowing into the footpath.
Sorry, yeah.
It's the county council.
Yeah.
Sorry, they've got to start doing these things. They shouldn't expect us to.
I totally bring the word council Tully, things are being going up, and that's certainly true. But at the same time, the service, if anything, should stay the same, if not get a little bit better as things go up. I appreciate you coming here this evening. I think it's really important, because at the end of the day, as a town council, we're here to support residents and actually help towards putting messages forward towards the Somerset Council. And for example, if you wanted to, I don't know, what's that, we're crossing in, for example, you contact Somerset Council, they'd go, the first thing you need to do is get backing from Taunton Town Council, or if you're in Wellington Town Council, and then we'd then write to Somerset Council. It's not always certain that it would happen, or they'll guarantee it, but it definitely does help, bolster that movement. So I am really grateful that you've come this evening, and we will continue to work with you, continue working with residents across Taunton and make it a lot safer. But it's annoying, as town councillors, we're really restrained by the Somerset Council not doing as much as they should be, really. So we do understand your frustration massively. Councillor Tish?
Just one more thing that, is a small thing, but I'm a trustee at the community centre.
Yes.
So I will try as a member of the trustee board to add the community centre by writing to the relevant, because we're almost on Eastwick Road, with Priorswood Place kind of Eastwick Road, but maybe if the trustees there write as well about the concerns of Eastwick Road, it just adds weight, sir,
Yeah. Thank you.
Perfect. Okay. Great. Thanks so much for coming this evening. I know, is there any other public speakers? Your part's coming up down the agenda, so then we'll figure it into that item. Is that okay?
Absolutely okay. I think some of the concerns raised by Councillor Stainthorpe, I've done the analysis which would inform that argument. So.
Great. Okay. Look forward to your piece. Thank you. Okay, so start the meeting. The first item is apologies. Have we got any apologies for this evening?
No, I haven't received any, Chair.
I've received one from Councillor Fun. So yeah, he messaged about 5 minutes before. So yeah, thank you very much. Declarations of interest. Is there any declarations of interest this evening? No. Thank you. And the minutes from the last meeting from the 18th of December 2025. Is there any questions? Could I get proposed to support? Councillor Stainthorpe, could I get a seconder? Councillor Lester, could we go to the vote, please? That's carried. Thank you very much. The forwarding plan, members to note the planning, development and licensing forwarding plan. Has anybody had a chance to have a look at this? Is there any items that you want to comment on? No? Okay, so support. Could I get a proposer? Councillor Tully, could I get a seconder, please? Councillor Stainthorpe, could we go to the vote? That's carried. Thank you very much. Okay, and number 5, update on the Neighbourhood Development Working Group. To receive an update and progress of the Taunton Neighbourhood Development Working Group and provide any comments on the draft aims and objective paper. Do you want me to kind of go through what happened last?
If you're happy to.
Yeah, then we'll just bounce it.
Yeah.
To, would you like to take over on the aims and objectives? Is that cool? Okay, so the Neighbourhood Development Working Group, which took place early about 2 weeks ago, actually. It was the first time public speakers, a public group, came and joined and really introduced themselves at the meeting. It was really, really interesting. All walks of life, have all experiences, and across the board with all the information that was provided alongside with the main team. It was a really, really productive evening. Went for about two and a half hours or something. But yeah, really, really bad about everything we're not. So yeah, I think say on that. The aims and objective. Would you like to take on from there? Yes.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Hope everyone's had a chance to look at this. I mean, the Town Council and the Neighbourhood Plan Working Group will be aiming to go out to consultation on these aims and objectives in the springtime, which will be one of the first elements of consultation that we have to do as part of developing that neighbourhood development plan. That's been pulled together with the help of our consultant and in consultation with the working group over the last couple of months. So our consultants looked at all the key documents in the Town Council's corporate plan priorities, the community review that we did last year, remember, with the CCS, which was published. So really just a chance for you to make any comments or influence this. I think comment was made at the last meeting that they do very much align with sort of the existing like the garden town principles and things like that that are already out there. There's a useful sort of key in there to sort of indicate how much influence and likely to feature in the neighbourhood plan in that green, amber, red key in terms of what a neighbourhood plan can deal with, which is useful to sort of see. So it's breaking down into that, themes, topics, and aims and objectives. And yeah, if there's anything in there that you think's missing or that you think you'd have any feedback on, we'll send you. Thank you, Chair.
So just to check as well, has this been put out to all councils as well? This aims and objective?
I believe so, but I can double check.
It would be just, if not, it'd be great to send it out just for greater feedback. I think it'd be a really good thing for everybody in this committee to kind of have this aims and objective. And if they see anything raising over the next week or so, maybe either message in or keep your comments till the next planning meeting.
Yeah, because I think we got our next working group meeting in the middle of Feb, isn't it? I think early. Feb,
So if there is anything you would like to raise, and not expecting you to, unless there's anything urgent, if you'd like to raise anything by possibly the end of this month, then just either email me or Marcus or anyone just to add those points on the feedback. But obviously making that picture for this neighbourhood development, it would really help. So that's the statement.
Thanks, Chair. Just a quick question. I know there's a number of members of the public sitting on the committee, on the group. Is it possible to know either who they are or where they're based in Taunton? Is there a good spread across? Because obviously there's quite a number of wards in Taunton Town Council. So it's making sure that we've got representation, I think, would be good across all the wards.
Yeah.
Is there any way, I mean, obviously you get GDPRs and all these things to consider, but is there a way of knowing what the representation looks like? Would the members of the public that have joined it be willing to sort of share that information?
Well, one of the things just to note as well is obviously when it went out to the public to possibly join this, we had really good feedback, but it doesn't guarantee that every ward is going to be filled up by a member of the public.
Absolutely.
But obviously,
It's, I think if there's a ward, say, if there's a gap somewhere, it might be worth us trying to encourage somebody to be there, or for the ward member to make sure that they have more of a representation.
Yeah, maybe to see if we were, say, the map of Taunton, going to get a patchwork done of where it's covered, if that makes sense. We might have a big section that's
yeah, that's what I think. I think that's our consultant. He's very key to ensure that the localities of the areas of Taunton are covered, and that doesn't necessarily mean that you as ward council have to go to the neighbourhood and working group. There'll be opportunities for you to influence as we go through the process. So yeah.
But if there's somebody,
something that
if there's a member of the public from each area, then you don't have to really worry about it so much.
Yeah, that's like I said, that'd be a really good point to possibly email over or something like that, and we can kind of raise that at the next working group, just to see what they say. But it might be, like I say, if I can work it out, I'll see if I can do a like a patchwork of the whole of Taunton to see where we're kind of blended. But the good thing is, obviously, we're thinking of Taunton as a whole, to make sure that Taunton as a whole achieves this, you know, this picture. But obviously, we want to make sure that influence from all areas is helpful. Yeah. Any other questions on that? No. Okay. So we'll just note that. Okay, thank you. Right, the next item is the National Planning and Policy Framework and consultation to consider the recent publication of the revised NPPE and whether to submit a town council response to the consultation, which closed on the 10th of March 2026. The revised document states that the 12 most significant reforms are, in summary: permanent presumption in favour of suitable located development. Number 2, building homes around stations. 3, driving urban and suburban densification. 4, securing a diverse mix of homes. 5, supporting small and medium size. 6, streamlining local standards. 7, boosting local and regional economics. 8, supporting critical and growth minerals. 9, embedding a vision-led approach to transport. 10, better addressing climate change. 11, conserving and enhancing the natural environment. And 12, taking a more positive approach to the use of heritage assets. That's it, you, Marcus. Very cool.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Yeah, it would be sensible to put this on the agenda as there's a period of consultation and whether the council wants to make any comments about it. I've actually booked myself onto a webinar in a week's time to what council needs to know, so just to understand it in a bit more depth, and I'll see report that back to the next meeting as well. But yeah, I'll just take any questions.
Councillors?
Sorry, Marcus, is that all that? Will you have a chance to report back to us before the consultation closes? Probably. Is there a meeting every?
The consultation finishes on the 10th of March.
Yeah.
We'll have a planning meeting in February, so maybe if Mark's has had the call right there, then maybe we could get feedback on the next plan. Councillor 2, is it Councillor Stainford?
Is this, if I may be wrong, is this the thing the MP's been campaigning about around developments of over a certain number of houses? And I think I read that if a planning committee is minded to refuse a large scale development, they have to inform the government, who then step in and make the decision then and there. You know, as councillors, I'm not sure we're going to agree with, but also, you know, people coming to say their point of view at meetings. I think if the presumption becomes that the government's going to okay it anyway, you know, if there's a slow erosion of local input and local democracy in a way. I understand the government's, you know, drive to get things through and stop, you know, things getting held up. But yeah, I think that will be the point, Marcus. But I guess if you can pull out anything from that webinar that you think, sorry, I know that's all on you, but anything that you think might be of particular interest to us on the town council, then that would be great, Chair.
I think Councillor Stainford, Councillor Tubb.
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, Chair, I'm really interested to see what Marcus comes back with. I mean, I think the description on the list is rather woolly to fill it. And I think the concern is the lack of detail. The big worry is that it restricts the influence that local planning committees can have on the development of their areas and of their towns. And, you know, we want to be able to support our residents and help a positive growth in the town. And if they feel that actually, as Councillor 2 has just referred to there, if they feel that actually we have no influence, then what is the point of a planning committee? What's the point in us giving up every month that we do, the days we give up a month to look at plans, to sit in a planning committee, to discuss something that the government's just going to overrule anyway? And if it all comes down to the planning officers, then we are, you know, surplus to requirement. I think that message will have to go back clearly to the government. we understand they need more houses. We understand that, you know, there needs to be more development, but it can't be to the detriment of residents and local populations. They've got to do it sympathetically and along with the community, and not just destroy communities. So I think it's going to be really important to hear what Marcus comes back with, and then put our points in.
Thank you very much, Councillor Tully.
Thank you, Chair. I agree with what they're trying to do. I just don't agree the way they're trying to do it, because this is the things that the developers need to deal with, not us. You know, I'll just go for one, and I'll go for all of them, but I'll go for one, which is the diversity of mixed houses or mixed accommodation. How do you do that when companies like Simmons have only 6 types of houses? They'll change slightly, they'll put dual-let balconies in, they may put chimneys on some, but that's not what they're supposed to be doing. And if the developers are going to do what they want, it's going to be a waste of time. Sorry, you know, this government might think they've got the right ideas, and I probably agree with them, but we all end up. I was up in Fleetwood 5-6 months ago, and I could have been in Taunton, in Monkton Heathfield. I could have been somewhere just in Kent, because every house are the same. A diversity of different houses means different houses. But yeah, that's my say what I think of it.
Marcus will share any slides as well.
Thank you.
Great, Councillor Lester.
Just to get my pet hay out of the way, if there's anything in it around the minimum sizes for dwellings as well that's changed possibly. It's not on the list of things they've said has changed, so I imagine it's the same, but they want feedback. I think increasing those would be something I'd like added to any there that we send back. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Okay, so we'll put that one back to the next planning meeting, but for an update. Cool. Okay, great. The next item is just this item, then is it's a Stoke Road item then. So we'll just do this item and then come up to yourself. Thank you very much for being patient. Thank you. Right, so the next item is food warehouse, 38-25-0030-N, which is display of one number internally illuminated fascia sign to the front elevation, replacement of 2 number internal illuminated vinyl panels to totem poles, and display of 2 number internally illuminated graphics to an internal face of windows, doors at Unit 2, Priory Fields, Taunton. An update from. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. You may recall you considered this last May and made comments around the plan for an illuminated sign towards the rear, facing out towards that river and canal corridor. And before Christmas, I reported to the Somerset Council that an illuminated sign was in situ, which went against the eventual application that was given consent was for they've removed that in negotiations with the agent in the final report. So I flagged that to Somerset Council, and then earlier this month I contacted the agent directly, and they've now discussed the matter with their client and have been informed that the illumination to the sign will be switched off immediately. They do wish to retain the sign, which is similar to that on the adjoining unit done out, and therefore they're now going to follow up with Somerset Council about a retrospective application for the retention of the sign. So yeah,
Great.
Thank you.
No, thanks so much for that. Another reason why, you know, we're here as a committee.
Yeah,
things like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and what a great result that it might be small, but it matters. So yeah, thanks so much for that, Marcus, and thanks so much on the committee. So thank you. All right, we go to the next item, which is number 8, speed control measures in Stoke Road. Carry on. Yeah, thanks so much.
Thank you. Well, good evening, councillors. My name is Simon Bradley, and I'm here on behalf of the residents of Stoke Road at TA1 3EJ. I'd like to thank you all for the opportunity to speak today, particularly to Connor for suggesting that I attend and managing to cram this into what is obviously a busy agenda. I'd also like to take the opportunity to thank you for everything that you do for Taunton and in the surrounding community. Forgive me for referring to and reading from notes, but in my line of work, precision is absolutely everything, and I want to ensure that the record is accurate. So on behalf of the residents of Stoke Road, I'm here to propose a cost-effective traffic calming measure, which be installed to address a severe, persistent and now officially documented public safety issue, which is caused, unsurprisingly, by speeding vehicles in our 30-mile-an-hour suburban area. The pack that Marcus provided councillors with yesterday includes a cover note and the proposal itself, and there are 6 evidential documents attached to it, which hopefully you've had some time to review. The 6th of those, to Councillor Stainthorpe's point earlier, was a proposal which I believe is probably the most cost-effective and expeditious way of effectively addressing the issue, not only in Stoke Road, but across other areas in Taunton as well. The issue was formally raised to Avon and Somerset Police and to Taunton Town Councillors in June 2021. Despite 4.5 years of effort, engagement and now overwhelming evidence, it still remains unresolved. So I'm here in an attempt to change that with you, and my proposal is a data-driven appeal to take decisive action before a preventable serious accident or fatality occurs. I must stress, I do not come to you today as a curtain-twitching enthusiast with nothing better to do. I'm an experienced professional with significant frontline operational experience that I believe is relevant to this case. Having served 26 years in the British Army, in everything from bomb disposal to covert operations and defence procurement to ministerial advisory positions, I understand risk. In fact, I've spent over half of my life managing and mitigating risk. Most of that has been risk to life, and I now work as a consultant offering strategic advisory services, and I'm currently on contract with Google doing trend analysis and data analysis, hence the pack that I've been able to put together for you today. Rather than risk to life, much of my work now revolves around addressing risk to delivery and risk to reputation, and this is where I believe I can help the council make some solid decisions. The 30-mile-an-hour limit in our community clearly is designed to protect lives, and it's a principle which is tragically undermined on a daily basis. Travelling at just 5 miles an hour above the speed limit increases stopping distance by 6.5 metres, and that's in good conditions. The chance of killing a pedestrian rises from 20% to 50% at just 35 miles an hour. And to compound this problem, many people, the latest national statistics suggesting it's 1 in 4, continue to use mobile phones, which are obviously a distraction while driving. This reduces reaction time to any peripheral hazard by a further 50%. So at just over 30 miles an hour, it increases your stopping distance by 30 metres. Hitting a pedestrian at that speed, particularly today in more modern hybrid or electric family SUVs, those weigh between 2 and 2.5 tonnes, and commercial vans that weigh up to 3.5 tonnes, and they carry far more kinetic energy than standard cars, means that you're looking at an unsurvivable blunt force trauma. In 2024, 232 people were killed or seriously injured in Somerset. The total number of casualties was 1,215. Of those, 46 deaths and 243 casualties occurred in Somerset West and Taunton. The majority occurred on A roads and urban through routes, of which Stoke Road is one. The trends for 2025 have not been officially published yet. However, they do indicate that pedestrian fatalities rose significantly last year, and that highlights the vulnerability of pedestrians in areas where traffic speeds are increasing. In 2023, the council removed the natural inhibitors to speeding on Stoke Road via the introduction of a parking permit scheme. During the consultation in 2022, prior to the scheme being introduced, residents were approached and explicitly warned in writing that this would likely create a high-speed thoroughfare. That risk has now materialised. This is no longer a theoretical concern. It's a documented consequence of a policy decision. We routinely witness on Stoke Road vehicles travelling at over 40 miles per hour, particularly at peak times when the road is teeming with children who are either walking or cycling to and from school and college, and deliberate racing at speeds exceeding 50 miles per hour. Even now, large heavy vehicles which range from flatbed trucks and coaches to tractors are now available to travel unhindered at 35 to 40 miles per hour. The increase in speed on Stoke Road is irrefutable. In addition to the data captured by the SIDS, which were installed in 2024 and 2025, the police data is startling. Reports of antisocial driving on Stoke Road more than doubled from 2023 to 2024 and nearly tripled in 2025. This isn't a perceived speed. It's an exponential surge in dangerous driving, which is now formally documented by Avon and Somerset Police. The road design now actively encourages behaviour that the law expressly forbids. Over the last 3 years, this aggressive form of driving has led to several near misses, including ones I've been involved with, incidents of verbal abuse, and a deep-seated reluctance from residents on the road to engage in community speedwatch programmes because of a fear of physical repercussions. Most drivers do not set out to deliberately speed, yet they do. Speed begets speed, group behaviours are reinforced, and speeding is normalised. If any of you are in any doubt as to what I'm talking about on Stoke Road, then I invite you to come and stand on the midpoint, early morning, mid-morning, lunchtime, early afternoon, or early evening, and you will experience it for yourself. I've deliberately avoided including any legal implications in the proposal that I put forward as a pack, but I think it's important to raise them now, particularly in light of the fact that residents formally corresponded with councillors at town and county level. Under UK law, the situation now involves direct corporate liability, the creation of danger exception, and duty of care. Following the introduction of the parking permit scheme, the evidence that speeds have increased since April 2023 is key. Under both the Road Traffic Regulation Act and the Highways Act, councils have a duty of care to secure the expeditious, convenient and safe movement of vehicles and other traffic. By ignoring the evidence that's been presented, the council would move from a position of discretionary policy making into irrationality. If the council has evidence that a life-threatening risk exists and chooses to do nothing, then the decision-making can be legally challenged. By documenting this risk with you today, we're effectively moving the issue from general road safety onto the council's known liability ledger. In the event of a fatality, the correspondence trail of warnings could be used as primary evidence in any claims of gross negligence or corporate manslaughter. I stress, though, that I am not here to point fingers or attribute blame for the decisions made in the past or anything that may have contributed to this current situation. Lessons can and should be learned, but we are where we are, so it's all about moving forward. So I'm here to formally request that the council accept responsibility now and in consultation with Somerset Highways, take quick and positive action to resolve this case. Why does this matter beyond the data? Well, for me personally, I've had the misfortune to lose a friend in a car accident in Taunton to a driver who was travelling at excessive speed, and that driver subsequently committed suicide 2 years later. When working abroad, I've been the first responder at 3 separate vehicle-related incidents where an old man, a woman and a young boy were killed by vehicles travelling at 40 miles an hour. These are not things I wish to experience again, nor are they things I would wish anyone else to experience the consequences of, directly or indirectly, as a victim, their family, an innocent bystander, passenger, driver, or first responder. As I mentioned earlier, I've spent the last 9 months consulting with Google. There's a reason they're one of the most successful enterprises in the world. They're data-driven. They treat data like an instruction, not a suggestion. The council, I'm aware, has invested tens of thousands of pounds in speed indicator devices. They have provided you with the data that you need, and it demonstrates a severe risk to life. So if you choose not to act, the investment was wasted and the liability sits with the council. So I'm asking you to use that data, the data that you paid for, to protect the lives of the people that you so rightly serve. So on behalf of the residents of Stoke Road, thank you very much for listening. I'm very happy to discuss the proposal itself or take any questions on the evidence that's been provided. Just to finish off, the proposal itself, the speed mitigation I'm talking about would cost at the low end £4,500 and at the high end £6,500. I discussed this with the county's assistant highway safety manager when he visited Stoke Road in December last year, and he agreed that it was probably the best solution. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks so much for your speech. Thank you. And have we got any questions in the room? That's a safe one.
Not so much a question, just first of all to say thank you so much for all the work and effort that you've put into this. It's quite phenomenal actually. Reading the paperwork that Marcus sent through to us yesterday, I was very shocked at the speed data. And these are roads all the way through Taunton. Obviously Stoke Road has a major problem, being the worst, the number 1 and number 2 worst affected. But these roads are in all of our wards. One in mine has been clocked with in Garmington Road, which is very much a built up area, houses either side, shops, primary school nearby, 102 miles an hour. That's what's happening in our towns. We have to take this very seriously and we do have to act, because I certainly don't want to be one of the people that's sitting there being responsible when somebody gets killed. So I don't know who the responsibility, I don't want to get stuck in this game of ping pong with Somerset Council, as sometimes we end up within in highways, and who's going to pay for it and who's going to do the work, who's going to do the surveys, who's going to check out how much it's going to cost. This needs to be done and it needs to be done now. This has been asked for since 2021. What do we wait until somebody gets killed? We have to do something about this and we have to do it quickly. And I think we need to discuss whether it's with Somerset, whether it's with highways. But certainly, as I mentioned earlier on, something that concerns me is speed restrictions and speed limits seem to sadly be ignored all too often. So you have to do something physical to slow people down. And this is where possibly these speed pillows may actually be an answer. I don't know enough about them. I've only read what's in this report, but certainly we need to find a way of slowing down some of these drivers, because when you've got people, consistently, 30 and 40% of drivers exceeding 35 miles an hour in built up areas, this is really dangerous, and something needs to be done.
Thank you. So what I wanted to say, so only becoming a councillor and living in my ward, really one of the things I've always hated is speeding in vehicles. Even when I drive my vehicle, was make sure I'm at the right speed. But upon me walking the dog or walking out with my wife, I see a lot of the time that cars are speeding everywhere, across Taunton, everywhere. But to actually get the ranking side of Stoke Road, east and west, if I'm correct in saying, it makes it really important that this needs to be sorted. One of the things that I found out since being a councillor is the worst thing that keeps happening is post to pillar, post to pillar, post to pillar. Somerset Council do not, in my eyes, it's like throwing a rock at the wall and you just don't get anything back. It's really frustrating from our side as a town council, who all we want to do is try to achieve good things, and Somerset Council keep putting obstacles in the way. It's not fair on us as a town council, but also as a resident like you guys. You've been pushing for this since 2021. When does it become an urgent matter? As a town councillor, I think across the board, across the country, something needs to be massively improved with speeding in towns. But like Councillor Stainthorpe, it's not the speed like 30 miles an hour down the road. It's these roads. What can they put in place across all these roads that it keeps happening? It has to be I think, right, that road gets a really bad ranking. Let's put that there. They do that in every single road that gets these records. they will get the results of being a slower road with less casualties, less incidents. But it just doesn't seem to be, that just doesn't seem to be an urgency. And I really, really feel sorry for you guys who've literally been pursuing this for nearly 5 years. I can't imagine the frustration, how many pillars you've been thrown to. But I really hope as a town council, it's the first time you've come to Taunton Town Council tonight. And I'm really glad you have. And because at the end of the day, I know as a town council, we can put you in the right direction, or at least do our best. That I personally don't think Somerset Council are doing their best at all, and they haven't for a long time. So if we can, we'll do our best to help where we can. Councillor Tully.
Thank you, Chair. I almost went back 8 years when you were going through what you was going through, because I was caught for speeding at 35, it was 36 miles an hour, talking about the extra 5 above the limit. And I went on one of these courses, which I think is the best thing that I've ever done. I've been driving for 50 years, and that was the best thing I've ever done in my life. It explained to me that if I'd been going 5 miles an hour slower, I could save a child's life. 5 miles more, and they marked it out and showed what would happen at higher speeds. I agree with what you're saying. Somerset Council are not failing to do what they have to do. It's now coming down to us. The only thing I disagree with you, sir, is your idea of these cushions. I don't think they work. I was in Warrenwood just before Christmas and had to go across. They've got a lot of them, and my car goes straight across the top without me having to slow down at all. I think it needs something more. What I didn't like in Warrenwood, they've also tried they're like bricks stick up and up in the road, and if you hit them, the whole car vibrates. You've got to go on a certain speed. I think it's 25 miles an hour, and they do work. The cushions I don't think do, unfortunately. But I agree with what you're saying, 100%. Thank you, Chair.
What I do, I go markers and go cats twos, and then you and one welcome to come. Is that okay?
Yeah, thank you, Chair, and thank you, Mr. Bradley, for coming along tonight. It's really the amount of data and stuff that you've provided is quite fascinating. Can I just check whether you've shared some of this with the police as well?
I have.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. I think it is unfortunate, I think, that we are finding with Somerset Council and the squeeze in their budgets and things. I know that highways budgets are very affected by funding pressure that they're under, that, I've raised, in different roads across Taunton. They always say they have a priority set of roads that they work to, and then, they've got a limited pots of money, and then beyond that, I don't know how you can get things bumped up the priority. I think they have things around collisions and where there are incidents that influences their decision making in that regard. But it is very frustrating, I find, when it's very quick for them to point to say, well, if you want something done, the town council will have to fund it, because we don't have that statutory power. We're not the highways authority. We're that influencer, that advocate. We don't. You as councillors have not set a budget to fund. There's no highways improvement works line in the budget, and you do have your ward member initiative scheme, but that's small amounts of money. Yeah, we know from some of the schemes that councillors have looked at. For instance, the Tudor Park one that you considered earlier in the year, the crossing there. You're talking hundreds of thousands of pounds to put in things like crossings. I know the speed roads in this instance are smaller, and that could potentially be covered by a ward member initiative scheme application, which is something I don't know if Mr. Brandy's been made aware of, maybe a potential avenue that the town council could help with this. I know that in the Troll Road area, that's been something that's been raised in the last year. Members have raised that, members and residents have gone to the Taunton LCN, and we finally got to a position where the Highways Authority are willing to look at a feasibility study that's being hopefully commissioned to approve ward member initiative scheme funding. I think the application's been made, and it's going to the next community in place committee, councillors Garside Landers are open to fund a feasibility study, which is sort of the next stage. We've been told in terms of understanding what the options could be in terms of speed mitigation measures and crossing measures on Troll Road. Unfortunately, it doesn't appear that there's a consistency of messaging to residents from Somerset Council, which I plan to raise, because I think Mr. Bradley's had a meeting with an officer on site and then wasn't told about the need for an infrastructure steering group approval, which is what I've been told previously for the Troll Road example. So I think that needs bottoming out if it's something in the Wimmis that the town council wants to fund, whether we're going to have to go through the feasibility study first before we can implement any measures. I think just on the legal liability aspect, I think I fundamentally disagree with Mr. Bradley's points that he's raised there. Liability sits with the Highways Authority, and enforcement, is a matter for the police as well. So I don't believe we would be liable if the town council decided not to go ahead and fund any infrastructure measures on this, having been made aware of the issues. It's the responsibility of highways to set speed limits, speed enforcement, and alter the highway. We wouldn't be able to do anything without their consent or say so.
Thank you. Councillor Toos.
Yeah, I think Marcus has answered that. So just to be clear, you talked about a feasibility study. So this isn't as simply as raising, I don't know, what is it, £6,000. We're not at the stage where Somerset would say, if you raise the money, it's okay to put it in. There's still other layers before that. Is that what you're saying or not?
Yeah.
Or you don't know. Sorry, you might not know.
One case with the Troll Road example, it wasn't as simple as, they wanted to put an improved crossing in, and we were sent down the feasibility study before we even looked at it. It may be different if there's, like you say, more of a history and the highways. I think there were some complications with Troll Road. I think I haven't got a definitive answer yet, so it might just be as simple as they would be happy to see those measures installed and cost at say 6,000. I don't, pending, the council's support, which I think is always the first step, which they say, and then if we can get a definitive answer on that, so that Mr. Bradley is absolutely clear as to what hoops they'd need to jump through to get the measures in place that the residents wish to see.
Yeah. Could you does somebody know, I'm sure we do know, but off the top of their heads, who the relevant members are across SCC and TTC? Because have you talked to your councillors, Somerset County councillors for the area?
He's not.
Who's Somerset?
It's me. It's Hazel Price Nacky.
Yeah.
I think it's Frederick.
Front.
In front. That's it.
Yeah.
So
Front.
So I'd actually highlighted this to Mr. Bradley about a month ago, saying that spoken to Councillor Aki Hughes. But there is a possibility that the Ward Initiative Scheme money could be used for this. But one of the things for the Ward Initiative Scheme to actually work is that it kind of needs to be bulletproof. The costing, it needs to have the approval from highways that this could be done. And a full consultation done. I know obviously what Mr. Bradley already has done is remarkable, and I take his my hat off to him for the last 5 years. It's I hate saying this, but like you say, with the Ward Initiative Scheme, if we've got those things ticked off, we've got the application in, and if Package Hughes and myself, if there's money in the Ward Initiative Scheme, then it's possible that we can do this. Which is important, the whole idea. If it's in your ward and things like this is going on, it's important to improve.
I mean, sorry, Chair. Somebody. Let me give way to. This has been waiting. So,
Mr. Bradley.
Thank you. Councillor Tully's here, to your point about speed pillars, your personal experience. There are two different heights of speed pillars, which are sort of outlined in the proposal. I suspect that you drove over the lower height speed pillars,
I was looking at.
which are, and they're tailored for different regions. The key thing is with speed pillars that they have to be emergency vehicle compliant. And if you get the right ones, they're also bus route compliant. And now that Stoke Road has become a bus route as well, the speed pillars would have to adhere to those standards, but they could be the higher ones. It would definitely give you a rattle if you were doing over 30 miles an hour. And of course, there's a lot of psychology behind it as well, in terms of measures being put in, and these measures can be installed within 24 hours. And if they are unsuccessful or they don't work as intended, they can also be removed within 24 hours. So I think it's a worthwhile purchase, and hence the proposal is this being a sort of pilot trial, which is something, again, I discussed with the Assistant Highways Safety Manager, and he agreed that that would be a useful thing to do as a trial. And if it worked, it could be rolled out into other areas. Where the funding sits, of course, is you know, what would need to be determined. I've walked down that road many times during my career, so I fully understand that the responsibility needs to land with someone who is then responsible and most critically has the budget to afford it. But when we're talking about a risk to life issue, in my experience, if you had multiple risk to life issues and you didn't have enough money, you ask for more money. There is no other option. Just to address the other councillors' questions on risk and liability, in terms of risk, you just need to determine whose risk register this issue would sit on. It may be yours, it may be Somerset Council's, it may be Somerset Highways, but nailing that, I think, is absolutely critical to then understanding who then owns the risk, and it's their decision whether they treat it or whether they tolerate it, and the risk then lies with them. That is then accompanied by the liability. That's what I'd have to say about that.
Councillor Staples.
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, thanks. A couple of things. First of all, the fact that you've already spoken with somebody from Highways gives me a lot of confidence in what you've been looking at, because if Highways have been involved at all, they're not going to be either backing or suggesting an idea that would be a no-go. I think when it comes to liability, I get very frustrated where people seem to push liability around as if it's some sort of commodity, especially councils. You know what, there's not just a liability in terms of a legal liability, there's this thing called a moral liability. And once you know about something, you should address it. We shouldn't be able to just sit in here and say, well, actually, it's not us, it's Highways, or it's not us, it's Somerset Council. And I personally don't want to think that somebody could be harmed, you know, injured badly, or even worse, killed, when we've known there's a problem. And if we can do something about it, we should do something about it. And certainly speaking with Councillor Lester, we'd be more than happy to use our WIMS money to look at helping fund some sort of traffic calming measures in these areas, including within our own ward, and whether it's helping some in another ward in the short term, if there is, you know, a shortage of funding. Somerset Council saying that they don't have the money, I don't think is an answer. And yes, we don't have big pots of money, but if we can find a solution that's, you know, a financially viable solution, because these, you know, speed pillars do look to be commercially viable from, you know, the cost of them, the fact that they can go in quickly, they can be removed. I mean, to me, it's a no-brainer. You would do at least do a test, you know, have a trial of Stoke Road and see how well, put in a SID in the area, put in the speed bumps, see what the impact is, and see if it's the, you know, obviously we have to make sure it's compliant with Highways and the roads. Some roads might not be in good enough condition, I would say, in some areas. You don't know until they start surveying them. But I think we should try and do it as quickly as possible. And at least if we get one trialled, we can then potentially roll it out elsewhere. And hopefully in the new financial year, maybe there'll be more funding from Somerset Council as well, or Highways. But we need to do something in the short term to alleviate this problem if we can.
And Marcus, then councillor Toots. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Just going to come back on the SID thing. I think in your budget for next year, you have as a council set aside, I think it's £20,000 for helping to fund the installation of standalone SID posts. So as Mr. Bradley referred to, you've invested money in the 6 SIDs that go around on a rotation to provide that data. But we do know that there are roads where there are not suitable fixtures. Stoke Road was actually one that we found out after the fact was one where that could no longer stay on the fixture that due to the highways letting us know that. So that's something that obviously we can look to roll out in the next year. I mean, I think where you say it's difficult because we set our budgets to cover our responsibilities, and where you start picking up the slack for Somerset Council issues, you know, we have to make sure that the budgets that we set cover our responsibilities. So things like where we've got, you know, responsibilities to keep our buildings safe and compliant and things like that that we own and we look after, and that's always going to be our priority. But like I say, when we do have discretionary pots to do those nice to do things to try and help with community issues, then I'm sure, yeah, like I say, with the Wimmis pots, I do know that we're not going to use, I think, all of the money this year. So if with that general underspend, there's an appetite to look at potentially using that towards some more general speed infrastructure issues, then perhaps there's a conversation there to be had. But yeah, thank you, Chair.
Thank you, councillor Toots.
I was just going to say, we've talked about using WIMS to fund the solution, but if there's, the other thing is, of course, is if there's studies or whatever, I mean, we may be in a crazy situation where conducting a feasibility study costs more than actually implementing the solution, but we don't you know, the obvious thing to say is let's get the solution in, but WIMS can also help with those feasibility, you know, we can take it a step and we can use the money, which may be less, to get that feasibility study done, puts added pressure on the council, Somerset Council, that there shows that there's all the sort of bureaucracy or whatever you want to call it is done, and then, you know, hopefully they will come in. I do acknowledge that there is a risk as a council, we are getting pulled all over the show to fund things we should not. And, you know, I don't suggest that people will put together such an amazing data driven, you know, which is what we're all about data. We have to be about data. But, and I don't imagine there's lots of people on YouTube watching this, but you're in danger of people thinking that they can come to this planning meeting, no disrespect, and then suddenly we've got 10 people like this good gentleman asking the same thing, and we can't keep helping. Do you know what I mean? That has to be acknowledged, I think. But I'm all for using WIMS to get, you know, what seems like a reasonably priced solution. It's not, you know, out of this world, is it?
Mm.
And also that the WIMS have been, the pot of money has been refreshed for next year as well.
Councillor Lester, councillor Tully.
Taking Councillor Toots' point, although, and also something Marcus said, we don't have a specific budget set aside for doing this kind of task. And whilst I agree, we can't keep bailing out different agencies who should be doing this work. Is there an opportunity in future years to have a specific budget for this kind of almost emergency type response to a need within our community? Because, as you say, we can't help everybody, but also we do have a moral responsibility, and the data, I mean, the data is undeniable. So I think as Councillor Stone, we completely agree, and we can use our WIMS money to do something, however small a piece of the whole pie that is. But I think in future it's got to be something that we actually consider as a council overall, because otherwise there's just this, you know, you're walking through treacle to try and actually get anything done, and it's very, very frustrating. And I must admit, on things like highways, I always assumed that the cost would be prohibitive for us to actually have a positive impact. And looking at the numbers here, I don't see these numbers as prohibitive. These are things that we could potentially green light. I mean, albeit we're just then handing the money to another agency to do the job for us, but at least it gets done.
Councillor Tully?
Yeah, I'm beginning to get a bit concerned. The SID system is good. It gives us information. But most motorists know that they don't record the car. They only record the speed that they're travelling at. If we took that information to county and said to them, this is what's happening in this road, can you do it? They would say, yes, we can look at it, but we need 3 independent periods when that happens. So they want one in a month's time, in 3 months' time, and in 4 months' time, seeing if the pattern stays the same. Otherwise, they won't do anything. Again, from another council, I know that happens. But you know, we need to do something, but we need to take it up with the council to put our fight to the county, say to them, not just the councillors, but the county themselves, that we're not happy with what's happening, and we know there's a problem, and they're doing nothing about it. I think we should write to them as a council and suggest that they look at it with us. And if one of their engineers is agreeing that this could work, then let him tell them, let him explain that to his own council. We can't just let things go. I've got a system that if I know something's wrong and I do nothing, I'm as much to blame of that thing being wrong as anybody else, and that goes for all of us.
Councillor Lester, and then thank you.
I was going to say, picking up on Ray's point about the council potentially asking for multiple data points and further investigation. Do we have to use the council's own data? Because we've got the data here.
Yeah.
Can we simply not identify the council that someone's done the work?
Yeah.
Surely we can circumvent a level of bureaucracy by, this gentleman's not made this stuff up, has he? I don't know the answer to that, but that's actually a question. I don't know. It should be possible, is my opinion, but
The year-on-year data certainly has dramatically gone up.
So
Can I just?
we'll jump onto it.
We'll be quick, honestly. But the other council I'm talking about, and you know which council I'm talking about, we had the same problem. And that's what we were told. We could do 3 lots of reports we get back from the SID information. And as long as they had all 3, they looked into it. And that's the only way we can do it. After 3 or 4 years.
I just wanted to raise one risk. So I just wanted to check on this. This isn't a Somerset example, but it has happened elsewhere, which is when there has been a review of speeding. Occasionally the review will outcome may be that they increase the speed limit of the road as opposed to any other things. I just wanted to double check what some of the risk could be about prompting a second review. And it does say if the data shows that existing speed limit is significantly below what the road environment supports, then they would take into account collision history, etc. So although it's probably a small risk, it's just a risk that's worth raising really around feasibility studies, etc.
Okay, thank you. I will let you speak, and then we're just gonna, because I appreciate your time, sir. Yeah,
I'll be very quick.
All right, please.
Just to address a couple of the councillors' very valid points. Councillor Tuesday, to your point about feasibility studies, absolutely, they are required for more technical works. This is not a technical issue, and that was agreed again by the assistant highway safety manager. A basic study takes about 6 to 8 weeks and costs over £10,000. That would be, to paraphrase process overriding progress. And to Councillor Tully's point about multiple data points, you've already hit the nail on the head. The data exists. It's 7.5 million vehicles worth of data over 11 months at 15 different points. So you have all the data that you need. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So just to round this out, I personally think the best thing to do would be to, I think, send Mr. Bradley exactly what is needed for the award initiative scheme, what he needs to put forward in the application, what that needs for the application to have good grounds. So, for example, if what you want doing needs to be done, instead of you wasting your time to put in an application and it not have good enough grounds because you're missing some nuts and bolts, just to give a full depth of an application kind of bearing background really. So you can put that together, and also I think going back to Councillor Tully or Councillor Two's point, I think with these data points, I think definitely a good letter to Somerset Council heading the planning committee, Taunton Town Planning Committee, highlighting the fact that this seems to be a reoccurring event on a massive basis. Of members of the public come to our meeting, whether that's full council, planning committee, or ops and assets. This seems to be a reoccurring event, so they need to kind of look at addressing items like what you've raised as a way of improving it. I think that would be a good point from us. We want to help 100%. We see the data you've provided, and like Councillor Tully said, we feel we do want to help as residents and as a council. And I think the ward initiative scheme would be a really good ground to actually maybe put this into practical evidence. But I think maybe providing an application basis for Mr. Bradley, so he can actually put something into fruition, would massively help. How does that sound, Councillor Two?
Sorry, just to check, have you approached the MP? Have you approached Councillor Mike Rigby with the report?
I've sent it to Mike Rigby, yes.
Actually, has it gone to has it gone to the MP?
I wouldn't know that. I haven't sent it to.
We both forwarded it on. I would suggest to Gideon.
Yeah. So what might be a good idea is when the letter gets sent to Somerset Council, I think maybe it gets CC'd in with the MP, and yeah, I think that would be a good idea.
All the detail.
Yeah,
Woods and
Councillor
Taunton.
Layton, so happy.
Really important.
Does that sound good?
Best thing I've seen for.
Yeah.
So yeah, we can update these points. Do we have?
Yeah.
Okay, so on those points, could I get a proposer? Councillor Stainford, could I get a second?
Yeah.
Councillor Lester, could we go to the vote?
Better nip out.
Somebody left the room.
Karen,
I didn't know it was a vote on this.
thank you so much, Mr. Bradley, for coming this evening. And like I said, we will be in contact, and we will, yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr.
Item is road marking request, Ash Crescent Deane Drive. Members consider supporting road marking request for Ash Crescent Deane Drive.
It's just a refresh, isn't it?
What I'm seeing,
Yeah.
It is just a refresh of road markings, is it?
knowing him.
My page.
No.
It doesn't say anything.
There's nothing else other, but I think it is the refresh of road markings that have all been worn away, I think. But there's nothing on this. Do you see?
The submission that the residents made to Somerset Council initially, making contact on behalf of residents of Galmington on Deane Drive and Ash Crescent. People brackets workers are parking their vehicles along the whole road and around Ash Crescent. It's becoming quite hazardous. We as a group of people request yellow lines to be put down, please. Homeowners are getting very agitated with this every single day. I think that's it. Yeah, I look forward to hearing from you. So Somerset Council have forwarded that on to us because they say they are only able to consider new parking restriction requests on the parish or town council.
Councillor Stainford, Councillor Lester.
So this is an ongoing saga across the whole of Galmington and Coombe. We have a huge problem with parking. And the majority of the area is affected now, and we've got a lot of complaints from residents all over Comerstow and Garrington, I'm afraid. There's been a survey has gone out from Somerset Council. Don't ask me, I don't know what the full results are yet. But we have to get support from each road. It's basically a street situation if they want to put in parking restrictions. But then again, this is to do with highways, and Somerset Council and Taunton Town Council actually have much say in this situation. We have also been in touch with the hospital, which Somerset Council took the lead on. Councillor Lester and I met with Somerset councillors earlier than last year, to speak to the hospital, because they don't make a big enough provision for parking for the staff. That's the crux of the matter. Until we have that resolved, we're going to have issues with parking in residence areas. But we can't blanket yellow lines across the whole of Comerstow. It's going to be, you know, and whenever we put lines in, it just moves the problem. So this is a much bigger picture. So at the moment, we can respond, but it has to be part of a much bigger ongoing piece of work that's happening with Somerset Council, I'm afraid.
So that's the council too.
And actually, it's an opportune time, because just having heard and read the evidence from Stoke Road, the Stoke Road problem has been exacerbated by putting in the permit scheme that the residents requested. So
Sorry, carry on.
because you're removing a natural calming effect of parked cars on the flow of traffic. So I've never considered it before this evening, but actually now you start to look, expand the view of what's actually being requested, and actually it's that as Councillor Saythorpe says, we can't just carpet Comerstow and WA lines, because the problem just moves about. But equally, actually, it's WA lines solution, as Councillor Saythorpe says. The solution is the hospital should provide for their staff more than they are.
Councillor Twos and Marcus.
Yeah, it was just a point really that we're in danger of getting officer time and everything else. It's getting stuck into, and we're also in danger. I think, that chap, Mr. Bradley, has put together a very top-notch report, which is slightly different, but we also have another gentleman about Eastford Road, and I think we're in danger here because we can write to Somerset Council and they can just basically ignore it, and we may start to suffer because we in this room, while meaning well, give people the wrong impression. And I think we need to be as strong as we possibly can be to say, we will listen to you, but we need to be clear we can't necessarily help, because we're in danger of being outside of our remit and letting other things that we should be doing, as Marcus alluded to, drop because we're having to pick up highway stuff.
It definitely, before Marcus comes in, it definitely comes back to the ward initiative scheme was put there for, improving local things that happen in your ward. Things like this come up and there's availability and there's a good, like I say, nuts and bolts have been done for the correct application. I think that there makes grounds for things like this to be done. But I think outside of that ward initiative, it's really tricky. Really tricky as a town council, because as it proved at full council at the beginning of January, that budget has been thoroughly thought through for the next year, and that it jeopardizes any other areas, which then if we let down one of those, then it's just an ongoing effect. So it is really important. Marcus?
Yeah, thank you, Jan. Yeah, I totally agree with everything Councillor Two says. I guess it's very difficult, because we have no influence or say over Somerset Council putting in place that sort of gateway where they say we're not even going to consider it unless the town council support it. So then it puts that person and us in a very difficult position, because if
we've got to come.
I see, that's a good point.
Yeah.
I didn't
we turned and said, well, we don't really think it's going to go anywhere without Somerset and Somerset, and then it gets back. That's where it gets that bouncing back and forth. And then we often find where I've taken things to here to get the town council to say that's its official support. Then they say, well, it's not just enough to get the town council support. You also need to do consultation with the residents, and they add on all these other hoops because
But that's
I
the thing.
think for them it's a demand issue. They can't satisfy every single demand that the residents have, and like you say, there are unintended consequences. So they really much are driven from that sort of data-led. Then it's got to be more than sort of one resident just complaining about an issue. They like to see petitions and whatnot. Just in terms of, sorry, on the specific issue, there was we supported a request around parking restrictions for Henley Road, I think probably 12 to 18 months ago. And we received a reply about that, an update in November last year saying that they're still standing up the parking services team following reorganisation. They're happy to include that particular road in the board plan for review. However, they don't look at one individual road. They look at restrictions across the wider area. They know that there's appetite to look at Garmington Road, College Way, south of the hospital, and they may consider north and south together if it is feasible. The team is at full capacity. They will be looking to do a review of the areas county-wide where their intervention is most needed and can achieve best outcomes. So I mean, now that we've had that reply about Garmington, I'm happy to possibly just refer customers, if they're raising in that particular area, that standing advice rather than keep bringing them back to this committee, because I think, like I say, it's not probably the best use of our time if we know that it's on the radar of the parking team at Somerset Council.
Yeah, and also from experience, even in where I live, that you contact Somerset Council about an issue, they say, "Oh, go to Taunton Town Council for backing," and then they come back and they say, "Oh, we've had views from residents, but they don't actually want it." So I spoke to residents, 15 residents on that road, and they hadn't been contacted. And you actually you worry then, are you just pushing the boundary out because you don't want to do it? So then I speak to all the residents, and actually all of them do want it. It's like, well, where do you stand? And that's a really worrying point. That in my opinion, that they are literally, I think they treat every issue on a daily basis and just go, they're just overwhelmed by it all. I literally don't think it can be coped, and it's sad because we're getting a massive, well, we're just getting a snowplow around me, really. But I think that would actually be a really good case, Marcus, having that reply back.
Just a standard.
I think it's a good point. Signpost people to that.
That it has been.
It's a good idea.
It's an ongoing saga.
I think that would make sense. That would, I guess, that would answer this request then, would it? Because then it's in the area anyway, isn't it? Is that correct?
Yeah, Deane drives
No,
off
it's-
Garmington Road, so yes, it's.
Oh, well, Deane Drive, it falls into the Babes area, but it'll still be Garmington and Comitoy. It'll come under the same area in terms of what they'll be looking at for parking. But
So I think
I know it is us.
Yeah.
It's completely on the left. There's nothing
Yeah.
going to the right.
No, it's not.
It doesn't go any further down.
No, it doesn't, because it's on the corner, is it?
No, it's all in
I think as a committee, then we consider, as Marcus said, say that it's under review.
Yep.
Correctly, or if it's going to be under review,
Mm.
and it's been highlighted. I think that's probably the best thing to do right now. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay, so could I get a proposal, please? Councillor Stainford, could I get a seconder? Councillor Lester, could we go to the vote? It's carried. Thank you very much, Councillor Stainford.
Quick question. At some point in time, because it is getting a much bigger problem, and we're going to keep getting these letters coming in from various members of the public, is there a possibility at some point in time we could have a meeting with Somerset councillors to discuss this between Somerset and Taunton? Because rather than it just bouncing back and forward, actually to sit down with them and say, how do we resolve this issue? Because the hospital are not taking any responsibility. I think from what I can gather, their answer to a councillor was, what do you want, a car park or an extension on the hospital? Which I think is not the right answer. What you should be saying, I don't think somebody should be actually saying that to a councillor, but that was their response. So, but we need to find some way of dealing with this, because it's not going to go away, and the hospital is getting bigger, and it's just going to get worse. And if we put lines, you know, on Garlington Road and College Way, it's just going to move into other parts of Garlington and Combsdale. It's not going to stop.
Before I forget, this Taunton Town Council has been, what, nearly 3 years now coming up in what, March?
First of April.
First of April. So that's
First of April's kind of.
So that's been nearly 3 years. It would be a really good meeting, even if it's in 6 months' time, or years' time, or in 4 months, or 2 months' time. But I actually think Councillor Staples said a really good point there. I think actually getting, say, the Somerset councillors of Taunton to have a meeting with all the Taunton Town councillors in this room for, you know,
Good point.
to really chat about local issues. They should know about them, but actually, if they're over bombarded with things across Somerset, I think it would actually be a really efficient, really effective meeting. I think it's probably definitely gravy for the appetite for sure. Worth asking. It might be something worth us looking into actually. Okay, thank you. All right.
I was just going to make, sorry, it's not particularly about the subject. I was just going to make an insight, because I've previously worked with NHS in London, so parking in Taunton times a lot.
Imagine.
And the emphasis was very much put on our employers that they should ensure that we're not clogging up the roads, etc., etc. And they worked to provide a minibus. So there was an out of town car park, not dissimilar to a park and ride within a mile.
Exactly.
And because of the 12-hour shift start and finish at the same time, they just used to run routes around. So it's not an insurmountable issue. And I feel like if the right people had the right conversation, it could be solved relatively easily.
Exactly. It should be solved.
I guess a little bit like, you know, that's on a massive scale, but a little bit like Hinkley Point, for example. Everybody goes to this area, they get the bus to take them to the area, and they pick them up at those points, hit them back there.
It's not rocket science. It's just being bounced back and forward to between too many people.
Okay. Is everybody happy to go on to the next item?
Looks like
No, it's
People like their cars.
Sure.
Well, I was going to say, it's slightly the people that are going to Hinkley probably don't have access to transport like people that are working. And that's why they're popular. I think in London, you're right. I think there's a different perception in London about getting on a bus. But I think in this town, I think people are reluctant. I do think they see the bus as something that people in London don't see it as, and they like to be able to come and go when they like. But maybe that's just based on my.
Yeah, it's a
Having a
it's a
tube
more
every 5
difficult
minutes.
discussion.
They have included it's like it costs £15 and they'll change their mind.
Exactly. This is the thing. If you find a way of encouraging them to use the
Oh,
parking light.
Yeah, encourage them like that, yeah.
That's the thing. So.
Right, so on to the next item, road marking request. Trenchard Way, members consider some road marking request for Trenchard Way. This opposite, where that. Yeah, the new building's getting built. So what is the proposal? So what is the request of your?
I think it's to change
thought
that
that's the
single
cars.
yellow line into a double yellow, isn't it? It's just as you turn out of Firepool View onto your left, there's a short section that is single yellow. So I think between the hours of 8 o'clock in the morning at you can call it 6, I don't know exactly. Cars can park on that small short stretch there. So I think the request right.
It's just that part between the bit of the road and the corner.
Yeah, I think the rest is all
Doubles.
double. Yeah,
Is that just like an oversight? It just seems quite slightly peculiar.
I think there is an explanation in the email that was provided from the member of the public 2 seconds now as to why. I think he had a bit of a history as to how it had been
does make me laugh that, you know, this site's been passed over to highways and it's never got picked up from the moment it was in development when it got handed over to highways. Because I guess this isn't a private site, this is highways.
It's not an old road, is it? I mean, this isn't something that's.
Do you go for it?
Sorry, yeah, thank you. So the contact from the member of the public has come from one of the directors of a residents association at 5 Woolock, Taunton, and they're responding to current complaints from leaseholders that parking within development is becoming an increasing problem. Cars being parked on Trenchard Way along a small section of single yellow line opposite 3 of the residential housing blocks. As directors, they are all in agreement that double yellow lines in Trenchard Way should be in place. When 5 Woolock was originally constructed in 2013-14, the Highways Department wanted to mark the whole road with double yellow lines. Apparently, there were objections to this from some residents on the grounds it would inconvenience delivery drivers and visitors to the development. As a compromise, Highways left a small section with single yellow line with restricted parking. They refer to a recent incident which you may have seen on Taunton Matters as well, where a car was parked partway on the road, and I think there's an image where it was actually hit by another vehicle. The view is that this is an unnecessary risk to road users, and that road safety overrides any opinion that delivery drivers and visitors would be inconvenienced. The traffic volume has increased since 2015 when the road opened. They have contacted traffic management and they are happy to review the request after consulted residents and got support from Taunton Town Council. I think they did send through a survey of residents. The survey results they sent through yeah, oh, Ali's got that on the screen now. So 39 responses in favour of upgrading to double yellow line, 19 leave single yellow line. Carried.
Okay, so I guess they've come to us to show support to them right to Somerset Council. Is that right? Yeah. I don't have a problem with that. And
Residents have spoken, haven't they?
that's the resident. Yeah, exactly. Okay, so to support this application, sorry, to support this to then right to Somerset Council, could I get a proposer? Councillor Lester, could I get a seconder? Councillor Toos, let's go to the vote. 3 votes. Oh.
Let's sure.
On planning application received from the local authority. The first item is 38-25-0449, retention of building works, etc. Formation of vernacular access with hard standing to the front of 106 Road, Taunton. Retention of works already undertaken. Yeah, I did spot there was comments from the planning enforcement. What does that actually say? This is a line enforcement case myself. Patients even confused. Okay, we go back. We'll look at the street scene as existing, then street scene as proposing. Thank you very much. Yeah.
I still understand what.
Councillor Toos?
Sorry, are we in that part? I've just come back.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I looked at it earlier and there's a letter from enforcement on it. So is this work has already been carried out? So are we?
Oh,
So that looks like what we're talking about.
Oh my,
But I'm not sure that's 100. I don't know if that freestanding pink
No,
is different, isn't it?
it's 104.
So I wasn't sure what the enforcement notice referred to, but in the application, he's put an X in the box, which I'm always confused about. Does he mean it's not already been completed? That's why he's put an X in yes, or is he marked yes that it has been completed? If you see what I mean, because I couldn't, looking at 106, I couldn't see it's been done yet. But this is an old photo.
hold on, this is an old photo.
That's 199 at the moment. That's
But what, just to carry on my thought, yeah, if that further up, that house, that one there, has been allowed to do it, how are we supposed to say that the other person can? It seems like they've done it, and that's what I thought.
Which one is the house that's actually,
the only thing sometimes that slightly puts us down is where the house sets your position. If it's on a bend,
yeah, exactly.
Oh, yeah, true.
that's the only thing that can slightly change it.
Yeah.
Also, if there's a,
I'll be honest, they're actually
This is
further
Eastwick,
down with it.
this is Eastwick Road again.
Yeah,
is that's the house there?
yeah, it's that one with the fence.
Right.
I think, because the green door is 104,
Yeah.
judging by those.
We do with that Google Street thing.
I know.
I mean,
Guessing.
it's a couple of things. One, it's council land, because the grass between the path, pavement and the road belongs to the council. Can't just go and pave over things without planning.
So
Is it to be a free for all?
It's across the pulling as well, isn't it? So you're
Um,
removing a
Up
parking
the parking
space,
space, yeah.
whereas the other one isn't. But going back to your
Yeah.
point,
Yeah, but that has been a green space, and if they had put in for a planning application on it, then whoever decided to allow that planning to go through, it's already been done. It doesn't mean that it's all right for them just to go and pave it and not ask.
No.
But also I have to take into account that that's a parking space that is lost, and also it's Somerset.
Looking at the space, there, it looks like it would probably take two cars there, wouldn't it, what they're willing to do? So it's probably going to take two cars off the road towards one space taken. Isn't it?
Be nice to see what they've actually done.
arguably they could share the access, couldn't they? Maybe not.
Nah, I'm not sure.
Councillor
And when we finish with this, we just have a look at the enforcement attachment. Myself, if there's some form of enforcement action on
Yes,
this, I
that's
don't want
fine.
to approve anything
Yeah,
that makes us.
No.
Gotta let it run its course.
I would just leave it to enforcement
Yeah.
action.
It's a live enforcement case.
Is there anything further down in the email trail? Is it just that?
I think then.
Say if this is
Pass
refused
next,
or
I'll wait for the
withdrawn.
enforcement case to resolve, isn't
I
it?
think we'll wait for the enforcement to decide. on this one. Yeah, no comment.
Can we just say that due to a lack of information,
Well,
we can't support it without details?
So maybe, yeah, we can put a comment. How about we comment and say, due to lack of information, we can't make a decision. Does that sound good?
And the outcome of
Pending the outcome of the enforcement.
Pending the outcome. Does that sound? Yeah,
Yeah, I think that's all we can do.
perfect. Okay, so could I get a proposal on that, please? Councillor Twos, could I get a seconder? Councillor Lester, could we go to the vote? It's carried, thank you. The next item is 38-26-0005, removal of variation in conditions. Variation in condition number 2, approved plans of application 38-23-0139 to alter the design of the dwelling on land at 133 Downwington Road, Taunton. Councillor Stainford.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to go to the comments on this one. If you go straight to the most recent one, actually, probably from Mr. Straker. We've had a few calls about this. We've also had Councillor Fernandez in touch with us about it because of issues with this area of sort of development The number one, I think it's 133 Taunton Road was developed, so they took down some buildings, a garage. Originally, I think the plan and proposal was for one house. This is the one where we had the problem where they took down the tree last year. Remember the where, and there was a TPO on it. They took down a tree and they put a drive. They dropped the curb without planning. From the first house that they developed. They're now planning another house next to it, and it looks like another one next to that. In this letter, they've said they've actually dropped another curb without planning. So we desperately need, I would suggest, an officer to look into what the current plans are for that street and see if, first of all, they've gone, it's not actually had an approval on it in terms of another drop curb. And also in the most recent submission, the tree that they cut down, that they then replaced with a small tree, in this recent plan, they've taken the tree out again. So it just seems a bit taking liberties. And we can have a look at the plans in a minute, but if you have a bit of a look through, I think I'll find the point because there is quite a lot in there. I think the basis of this letter is the fact that they did work before without planning, then they had to change it, and now it looks like they've done work again without planning. But they've put in an application for a building.
Is there any chance as a committee, when things like this come forward, I remember speaking to a Somerset councillor, and he said it as a committee, it is really, really important that we do highlight to Somerset Council when work has already been undertaken, as that's really important for them to know, because that can either make advice on the decision, but also they can send officers there, so then things don't exactly that. Because I think it's a similar one. I think it was on South Street, one of those, that the property, pretty much the property was all finished, and then they put their application in and it got rejected 3 times, and this ended up finished now. But you know, it shouldn't be do the work and then deal with the consequences. It should be do it correctly.
I think we can prevent anything further here by catching it early enough to see what's been done before. You know, that they're asking for planning for a new building, but if there's other things that they've already done that they shouldn't have done, we need to put a stop on it completely until we address, have they already started putting in a drop curb? What has been done so far? It is right next to a zebra crossing, and we need to take that into consideration. And there were applications in other parts of the road for drop curbs, which were refused for that very reason. So, but, you know, it just seems, if you go on to the, I think start with the site location and block plans, and then the street scene actually is really useful. That's the one that we want to see.
I actually think from this completely different subject, but when it comes to drop curbs, I actually think from a logistical point of view for a homeowner or even for a business to do, drop curbs are extremely expensive. They really are, and to be honest, for quite a simple job to do. So sadly, it's wrong, but I understand why people do it, because it's a rip-off. It's just a money maker.
But if it's near a crossing, it's a health and safety risk.
It needs to be done right, and that's why you've got to get it done with the right checks.
So the proposal is for that small house in the middle, and I suspect
Which isn't there yet.
And this is what Councillor Fernandez has also raised, is the question of whether they're going to try and fit another one in between the two. If you look at the plans, there we go. Now, so that the original houses would be 131 and 133. They tried to drop, so the The green, the largest green section in the middle, that I think that's where the tree was that they took down. And then they had to put a new one back up. They had also put in a drop curb there, which they had to remove and just have the one drop curb. But I suspect the one that the letter refers to is the drop curb to the left, because I don't think there was ever a drop curb there.
I think there's only one there at the moment, not three. I walked my dog past there
I don't
the
know.
other day and I don't recall there being
Is there
more
another one
work.
there? This is why I don't know.
I can't remember though. I might go, I'll walk in that way again tomorrow.
But there is also a street view on the application. But as you can see, so you've got, so what was just 133 Gamilton Road has now become 133, 133A, and I suspect then 133B. And that's getting quite squashed in. And this, I mean, what that drop curb, is it there?
I don't
Could
think
you
it
go
is.
to Google Maps, Ollie, and see?
It's 2024, sorry, 2014 is the. photo.
No,
It's not.
no, no, it's nowhere near.
Nowhere near, but yeah,
I can literally go up there and take some pictures tomorrow.
I think that is that the other side.
That's the opposite side.
That's the
of
opposite
the road,
side of the road. Yeah, it's so up the road a little bit, up towards the red cup. Turn and then sort of turn right. Should be around right here. Here, what is it? Why is that all blurred?
They're not asked for the house, people.
I think that's that bit. It is.
Councillor Tews.
Yeah. I just wanted to, I don't know if the officers can help, because I'm not exactly sure. The title of the thing we're considering says change of layout to the already approved building. So you need to be careful that we're not, if that building has been approved on the 23 application, I'm fully aware of the history of this. That is, there's been trees cut down, there's been drop curbs put in. But I'm not sure what this seems to be an amendment to the approved. Well, I couldn't see any information
Where's the
about a
original?
change out there.
Oh,
This is the original
I think it's
bit.
gone from this 1 to 2. This is the problem.
But the type. So if you look at the title of this, what's the title of this application?
Removal variation conditions, number 2. Approved plans of application.
So it says to alter the design of the dwelling on land that. I don't.
And this is what Councillor Fernandez raised, is that I think they've moved the house to put in another house. So they're looking to put in 2, potentially, in the long run.
Yes.
It's drawn along these, isn't it?
And
Drawing in first.
I guess so.
Well, the
One
tree
thing
is
we
got-
can do is surmise what could happen in the future, because it may not happen. We've got to think of what's happening now.
But what we've got to look at is what the proposal looks like versus what we had actually agreed to. And that's the concern.
That's the old application, is it? Changing the plans, aren't they?
So that's the new one.
Marcus,
Where's the old one? Sorry, can you go back to it?
Marcus, thank you.
Sorry, Chair, I mean, Councillor Tews is right, the application is for a removable or variation of conditions, so variation of condition number 2, approved plans of the application, so that there were approved plans submitted in the previous application, which was approved, so then looking to vary.
See,
What's the
Different, yeah.
Side by side. 'Cause that's the original houses on either side.
That one there with the black roof is
Very small.
133.
Nothing on there, just not.
I don't know.
So, but well, that's because that then would be 133A for us.
Yeah,
It's not. I don't see where the
it looks to me like they've bought part of next door because you've got private garden. That's the house that they want to change the conditions on that they've already got planning for. It looks to me like they want to change the planning because that says private garden, which must belong to that house,
which is now.
but it looks like now it doesn't. So it looks like they bought part of next door's garden. I don't know. It's hard, but
Can you go to the plan for,
Please.
no, there's
This-
a,
this bit here is,
oh, sorry,
sorry.
yeah,
I didn't
no, go
touch
back that, because,
Like we're at
sorry, there's been, go back to, sorry, what you were saying. I suspect that is what they're doing. Can you go to the current, is it on the application, or I think on the street view? On the actual application, which would be an up-to-date one. Okay, there's a street scene, there it is.
That's what we've got here.
Oh no, it's not that one then. I'm sure I saw. I have a proposed plans and the proposed elevations. See what they look like. Or
If you're going back to Paul's point, what is the actual change? The plus bar?
I don't think it's on there.
It doesn't seem to say, it doesn't really say, does it?
I think again, we're back to what we had on the first application, lack of detail. For us to actually make a decision.
I
absolutely.
think so, unless I'm completely.
We'd like to know what the difference is between the previous application and the new one.
The original one looked like a 3-bedroom house that was much bigger than the one that they're now proposing.
This is, yeah. I think that is potentially the case. What side of the road? 12 meters square, so.
Yeah, I think personally,
It's a small 3-bed.
It's a small, they've gone from a big,
Which is fine.
which have just, and then they'll probably try and go for planning to put another house next door to it.
I think as a committee, then I think really we need to, like we've done on the last one, we need to kind of comment and say lack of detail again.
Was it worked out? You worked it out.
What the actual variations are.
Down there.
No, it's made it smaller. Looks like it's a smaller thing, but you can't see the original
Yeah,
plans
the
clearly.
original, just looking at the plan, the old house looks bigger.
Bigger, but we
But you haven't got the dimensions of the old one, so you can't
Trying
really
to make it smaller.
and
it
they've
looks
obviously
To
put the land.
surmise
next to
it
them.
that they might
Well,
like.
then
I
try
know,
but
yeah.
yeah, I think,
The new house doesn't look too small, so in terms of
But-
treating it in isolation,
yeah, exactly. If you treated it nicely,
it-
you probably let it go.
but
through.
actually the drawing sort of infers that they've created a second plot, doesn't it?
Councillor Tews?
I think the two councillors next to me have worked out. I think, I'm not going to say unfortunately, I think we treat what they're asking to do in isolation. I don't think we have a reason to refuse.
Refuse it.
I
Well,
agree,
I
yeah.
think we agree.
I agree.
Yeah. Can we just see the road and
think-
the access, just so we can check that? Ah. We just. Where's? Okay, see that, hold on, see that there, where, those two cars have parked either side, is that, which houses are those?
That's the one that's already there, and the one that they are seeking to change the planning for. Two cars parked.
No, that's not as close to that. That must be 133 on the right.
That's 133 and 133A. Is
Yeah.
the two, they've got two cars outside of each of them, outside the front of each.
So that's the ones that share the driveway.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, and then I think there is a driveway next door to that, which would have been part of the other property originally. So yeah, you're right, we can't really, I don't think there's anything to object to in terms of those houses.
Can we just go back to the drawing of,
If anything, if the last application got approved, this is getting made smaller, they got approved for access into that house.
Yeah.
yeah,
And if they've just gone smaller,
Mhm.
then I can't, like you said,
The-
in isolation.
the only-
that's an issue.
sorry, the only thing
That's
that I
nice.
would query is where, at the moment, is you've got the drive which services the 4 cars, which
Yeah.
is the middle drive, if you're
Yeah.
looking at it. Is the one on the left already there?
That's what I want.
And I'm wondering if they're trying to get an application to get the drop curb
That's
for
what I
that.
wanted.
as part of the change to this.
And I think that's what that letter alludes to is.
Because that drop curb is only there to service a plot, a
It's not
building
the
that's
house.
not there yet.
But is that,
But you can't tell.
I know, or is that just now the driveway for 131?
I don't think it is. I just don't think it's there.
And I see, I
maybe
don't
not.
think it's there. I'm with you.
It is there, is it? Oh, sorry, I stand corrected.
Sorry, I'm just looking at street view.
I just don't pay attention. much.
131's got really wide.
That's it.
It's like a 3 car.
Ah,
sort of
okay.
width. It does match that.
Yeah.
And is there anything, so, yeah. Is there a drop curb next to that, Bryony, for 129?
Probably is.
Yeah.
Difficult to tell because it's on the blurry bit.
It's in that blurry bit. We'll have a look. I mean, I'll have a look tomorrow. I'll drive by. But
I'll literally walk up.
if that is the case, I mean, it could be that 131 is basically giving up its driveway. You can't stop people from doing that if that's what they want to sell their driveways.
Yeah.
Do you mind if we extend the meeting?
I'm gonna have to, aren't we?
Yeah.
Could I get a
The watch
proposal?
police here.
You see, Councillor Susan went to do that. You thought you were going early.
Councillor Stanford, can we go to the vote, please? It's carried, thank you. So I think on that point then, treat this one as it is. We haven't got. any
As
issues
that
with
property is,
Yeah.
we can't.
No, yeah,
They've made it small, so what?
it's still big enough. It's.
Mhm.
So could I get a proposal to support this application then, please? Councillor Lester, could I get a second there? Councillor Toots, could we go to the vote? That's carried, thank you very much. The next item is 38-25-0434, which for planning permission, change use of the ground floor from sui generis to retail capacity at 49 Station Road.
I don't think that's
Councillor
even.
Tully, Councillor Toots.
There's no problem with it. It's just changing the ground floor, starting it all wrong.
Councillor Toots.
Yeah, agreed. I thought for a moment it's going to be a restaurant or a cafe, which brings in smells, but you know, pipes and whatever chimneys, you know what I'm trying to say, don't you? But it's
Yeah.
just a food store, so it's a change from a tanning salon to a food store, a food shop. So no problem for me.
I agree. Thank you very much. So could I get a proposal to support? Councillor Toots, go ahead, second. Councillor Toots, Councillor Tully. You go to the vote, please. Councillor Toots, no, I'm joking. Okay.
Like Marcus is guided.
And the next item is Councillor Toots, no. 38-26-0002-A, which is advertisement display one.
No.
Huh?
Are we allowed?
Are we allowed to vote?
do
I'm not
this?
sure we're allowed to vote.
Very fun.
Because it's.
Who's done that?
We were talking about Station Road then.
We've done that, sorry,
Get with the meeting, guys. Right?
apologies.
Next
Oh,
item.
quick.
The next item is 38-26-0002-A. Advertisement display of one number of non-illuminated fascia sign at
Can we
units
comment?
3 and 4 Trafalgar House, Cornish Way.
Should have declared an interest.
Yeah,
Applicant Taunton Town
Sure.
Council.
Councillor Tully.
as my colleague just said, should we not have declared an interest?
Yeah, we should have. Mhm.
You couldn't financially benefit.
I've got
It will be
no
quite active.
objection. I've got no objection.
No,
It's just a sign. And it actually
It's not
stops me.
illuminated either.
No, it's not exactly. And it's in an industrial estate
Yeah.
And it's a really good application.
and it
as
looks
well.
really nice.
Peter.
Somebody did a really good
yeah,
bit of
great.
work on it.
Sign higher.
Looks really pretty.
Full.
Thanks.
I'm happy to propose.
And
Yeah.
so-
Okay, so to support Councillor, to propose it, Councillor Two, seconder, Councillor Tully, can we go to the vote, please? Next item is 38-25-0439, full planning permission, replacement of plant equipment at Sainsbury's Anchorage Farm, Taunton, which is, Councillor Two.
Are we finished?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm seriously not trying to, I know it's reached 8 o'clock. I'm not trying to move things on but I looked at this afternoon. Sainsbury's is saying they're putting new equipment with reduces emissions, is a greener. There's something on the roof of the Anchorage store already.
Yeah.
So this is just replacing old equipment. So I really don't, given the situation, this where it is and what it is, and it's making things greener, that I
Yep.
have any objections. No, yes.
If I'm not mistaken, I think they've done exactly the same one in town as well.
Yeah, they did. We passed it.
Yes, I think it's an ongoing store by store process, they said in.
Yeah.
Slowly making it more efficient.
They're not fixed tonight, by the way. I noticed that.
I haven't got one.
No, but we're fine. Propose it.
Councillor Lester,
Same.
no, Councillor Stanford, yes, the vote, please.
This one's a bit more.
It's carried.
This one's a bit more.
Next item is 38-24-0068, amended application, full planning permission formation of private car park members.
What's the latest?
Taunton, the cricket club, Ash Meadows, line at Mount Street, Taunton.
It's been bouncing back and forth, hasn't it?
We've commented on this book.
So upon
2024.
So upon looking at this, it does look like they've taken, so the amount of trees that were taken out, they've now they're keeping. So there's less spaces than before, so there's less green impact. Sorry, less impact on green aspect. But yeah, I think our points that we raised were about, if I'm right in saying, did we object to it last time?
Is it
Yeah, but
proximity to the home or something?
No, it's the green space between basically the
Yeah.
houses and
And the narrow access, I seem to remember, was
Yeah.
the issue because you have to go down.
you actually have
single
our
tracks.
previous comments. Oh, that's what we're doing next.
Lots of trees.
Oh, right.
It wasn't a formal objection.
No,
Concerns were made that lots
Lots
of
of
trees.
trees, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And how many, so what is,
So pretty much the whole of the south, then they're not taking those trees out. Instead, I think it was like they're losing 4 possible car spaces, and they're putting one that was two bays. They're now turning only into
Yeah,
one
put the-
our disabled. Yeah, if we
well,
go,
I just see what they're going from and to and how much, so if you see how many.
we should look on the proposed, please.
Yeah,
Show what.
I mean, they do have a problem with parking, we know
Yeah.
that. Everybody. And
Yeah, if you look on the south, that was about 4 or 5 spaces. Now, they're, that was before, wasn't it? Yeah. Actually, it's a lot less if they're losing it.
No, that's.
And if you go back to the old. Yeah, see.
okay, so we left them up the middle as well.
Yeah, and then what they're doing is put the disabled parking on the left. So if you go on proposed now. See? So, yeah, that whole southbound, which is looking at the cricket club. Yeah, no, is that right?
Yeah.
The cricket club is now green band.
It's reasonable.
Seems reasonable. Yeah.
I think that's,
Yeah.
You know, the comments was lack of,
No.
loss of trees, and I think actually they've listened.
Yes, agreed.
They
and,
still need the parking aspect.
Yeah, of course you do. Yeah.
but it's all about compromise,
Yeah. Absolutely.
so, yeah.
You know, they've lost spaces, but they're willing to compromise, which I didn't actually see an issue with it.
No,
Are there any comments?
No.
Yeah, okay, could I get a proposal then, please, to support councillor Tully? Could I get a seconder, councillor Stayford? Could we go to the vote? That's carried, thank you very much. The next item is submission of comments, feedback on behalf of Taunton Town Council to notification planning applications in the area as per 10.1.8 of the council's term of reference and scheme delegation. The clerk has delegated authority to submit comments and feedback on behalf of the town council on notification planning applications in the area when required, and in this occasion where there is an inability of planning committee to meet within the required deadlines, which is 21 days from notification.
Let's go it.
So the item that was raised, I don't know if it was highlighted in your iPad, it was Coney Trail. So that was item 38-25-0415.
And we've had it. So.
Oh,
Yeah.
Would we like to start on this one?
I think they're the best places to start. So this is for parcel, which is
H2.
H2A, H2B, 1 and B2.
Yeah, 2 grow, not too big. Yeah.
And have we got, because this is where it's always a struggle to see whether it is on the plans on this. I think there's a comment though from Trull Parish Council. I can't see it on there. I saw it. Went from.
I think the
Go
one
to the top to recent comment, most recent.
I think you're looking at the other applications.
Oh.
This one is about variation on.
Oh,
on
that's a different
on a
one.
previous application, and that's got comments from Troll most recently.
Right.
Do you want me to read out the?
So yeah, what's this one for then? So this is H2A, H2B1, H2.
That's a picture.
Yeah, can we see which? Can we see it in the map? That's going to be the.
So it's this one.
View map. Can you just click in view map?
That one is the number that's got the.
That's it.
350,016. I think that's up. Is that not the one up round by the centre?
Is that the one by the equestrian centre that we looked at last time?
Yeah, I think it is. It's this one we looked at before. This is what I'm wondering.
Is there just a top level plan with the areas highlighted, just so I'm getting a bearings?
Yes, it's site sections.
Yeah, trying. Oh, that's
Nope.
No, not, that's not what I meant. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's see. That is, yeah. We haven't discussed. Did we discuss H2A? Because I know with 2B1 and 2B2. Yes. Oh no, no, no.
No,
Actually,
this is the bottom.
this is
the
the
bottom.
bottom. This is off
Yeah.
the Pink Cottage. Yeah. It's reserved matters, and is there anything that's fundamentally changed on it from the previous
I guess.
layer? Well, it's the suds again, isn't it? Because they've put in a load of basins.
I'll come on the comments from the LLFA.
Good, that's what we need to look at. They've put in more basins because this development's just full of basins now. I mean, if they have to put them in, they will have to put
I
them
was
in.
going to say if they're required.
But who's going to be responsible for them afterwards? That's going to be a very different matter because it ain't going to be the town council. Yeah, there we go. Okay.
There we go. Yeah, that's a good point. Good point. Well made. Where's the water going to go?
And they need to demonstrate that the wider system can cope with the flow. I mean, we know that the flow rate's got to be at there's a maximum level that they've got to keep their flow rate within. They've just got to show that within, and this is where it goes back to the LLFA. We're not drainage specialists.
Yeah, I think that was their feedback. They've got to demonstrate capacity in the wider system or the ability for the wider system. So I guess we would wait for feedback from the developer on that point from them, wouldn't we?
Yeah, I agree with that. If this is the last letter that the officer is asking for confirmation that what they're putting in can cope, then surely we have to wait. Do we have to wait for that? Because if the answer is Simon can provide the evidence, then we would have concerns with that. But if he can, then we don't know.
No.
Also, Ollie, can I just
Has he got back?
I don't know. Yeah, has there been a response to that? I don't. It's hard to tell, isn't it?
I didn't see that. I missed that. Oh, only in the 26th of January. That's fine.
Just out of interest.
Oh, it's just back to housing.
It's the overall thing, is it?
It's going to be the same discussion. These are issues that are ongoing and concerns, but I think for us it's the same as the last application we had. We had to make sure that the LLFA were comfortable with what they were doing. They're adding in more suds. They've got to prove that the way the stream and everything is set up with the suds, that they can cope with it so they don't flood down. But that's for the LLFA to decide, not for us.
Just to also within the description, it says the appearance, landscaping layout and scale of the erection of 164 dwellings. On those original parcels, how many were there? Were there 164 or were there a different number? I'm just interested.
I don't think the numbers changed significantly.
No, I did. It's just one of
it's
those
really
things
just-
where the sort of like the big change is sort of
Exactly.
there in front of you, and if the reason for the additional suds and all of that side of things is because they're building more houses, it's slightly different, isn't it?
I think it's because they realise a problem.
I think we wait to hear back.
Yeah, no, I think that we need to wait till we understand the response to the question.
I think we wait to hear back from that and then we make a decision. So
Yeah.
can we?
Yeah.
Bring it back next time.
We want
To
to get back from the LLFA.
Can defer it. It's
defer it. Is that okay? Should we still vote on that? Yep. So could I get a proposal to defer? Councillor Hester, if we go, we'll second it. Councillor Stainport, could we go to vote? That's carried. Thank you.
Were there any other applications you want to comment on? Or?
Was there any other applications?
Yeah, I just wanted to, I don't want to keep anyone, the proposal to change bar 61 into retail units, I have no objections to it, and it's just very sad that another live venue is being turned into so I know it's late, but it used to be the light bulb or something, and my mum went there when it was a pub and a club, and it's been a pub and a club ever since, and now it's not going to be, and I just wanted to say it's a shame.
That okay? So
That's up to on in the
That used to be Cafe Mamla.
Yeah.
behind.
You know where
It's next door to the polish. It's next door to the polish.
Oh, yes,
Yeah, I know where
It's
it
a
is.
big venue.
yeah,
It looks really
But it's been one of those places where you get the impression local bands played their.
Councillor Tews, so just confirm, you just like, Councillor Tews, just chatting. You just like to comment that, so what would you like to add on that application?
Can I add that it's just sad to see another live venue leaving the town? But I completely understand the finance, I don't want the owner to feel that I'm, not respecting his judgment to try and find a better, more commercial solution, but.
You can't fill it. It just lies there.
Yeah.
So
Can I get a vote on that then, please? Can we
Yeah.
get a proposer?
we'll have,
Councillor Tews, can we go to second there? Councillor Stainport, can we go to the vote?
Yeah.
It's carried. Is there anything else?
Vote through the other comments.
Oh, yes.
So to support Councillor Lester, could I get that was first, could we get a seconder, please? Councillor Tews,
To vote the ones without comment.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
the votes. It's carried. Thank you very much.
Cheers.
Thank you,
ta-da.
guys.
Thank you all.
Is that-
Is it got the same? Not worth it.